here. First of all, congratulations for making it this far. Welcome to the NOVICE semi-final of the National University Debating Championship 2024. My name is Shagung from UGM, and I'll be chairing this round along with these incredible judges, which I will allow to introduce themselves.
Hello everyone, my name is Jane. Good luck to all teams.
Hello, Regina from Bisnis. Good luck for everybody.
Hello, Grace here. Wish you all the best.
Russell here. Good luck, everyone.
Hi, Kevin. Good luck.
Hello, I'm Justin. Good luck all.
Right, thank you, judges. In opening government, we have M. Surakarta. In opening opposition, we have NEGERI Padang. In closing government, we have Pattimura. And in closing opposition, we have IB, IT&B. The motion for this round is this House prefers a world where human beings have full access to their own noble records. To open the debate, I will invite the Prime Minister. Here.
Check, check. Is it all right? Okay. Gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges, we as the opening government, we really think that we're gonna prefer a world where human beings have full access to their own noble records, because we think that this is gonna be really good for the individual who are actually be in this kind of monotheistic religion, and then it also can be really benefit for the society itself, because after all, we live in the society, we live with other people and anything else. Now move into my background. Judges, we believe that as the monotheistic religion, they have the purpose to go heaven, right? Because we believe that believe in the gods, that when after our death, we are gonna go to the heaven or hell, and heaven is a really good place, and then hell is a really bad place, because after all, heaven is a place that we can enjoy ourselves, and then can be a really good place, right? So the purpose is that to go to the heaven. But after all, we see that in the status quo right now, as the people we're living in the world where there is the limitation, or there is a reduction of the people who are actually doing good, even though they are into the monotheistic religion, right? We see that people doing bad deeds, example, or doing the sin that's not really in liner of what the God's telling us to do, and something else. And because of that, we really think that this is gonna be really beneficial to have this kind of full access to their own noble record, because after all, they can also preventing all of the bad things and anything else that happen in the status quo right now. Now move into our definition. We believe that the full access is that when you can really look at about when you're doing something, is it really good this or bad this, and then after all, you can also look at how much you do the bad deeds, in your life, and after that you can actually think that, oh, I have so much bad deeds, so that I can doing more good things and anything else. This is what kind of full access that we are gonna do, because after all, they are gonna know that how much they're doing the bad deeds in their life or good deeds, and after all, they can also reduce the bad deeds in their life, right? And then also the noble record is that the record of the bad goods and the of bad and the good deeds itself. And what is the good and the bad deed itself? Is that if it's bad, so it's things that we are doing something bad are not in line into what the gods tell us to do, and the good deeds is something that in line in what the gods to do. Now move into my argument. One, we believe that this is really beneficial for the society, because after all, this can reduce the bad deed itself. We believe that we live in the society where you will socialize with other people, right? And then after all, it is very important for all of us to actually doing something good, because after all, who want to be with the people who are actually doing the bad things to us, right? Example, you with someone who kick us or anything else. We don't want this happen, right? Because after all, we also gonna get hurt from this kind of bad deeds by the people. So in that thing, in that thing, we believe that when people can have the full access on this thing, you know how much bad this that you already got, and then if you notice that the bad this is very much, you will minimize that kind of bad this, because after all, you will understand that, oh, if I'm doing much more of the bad this, this is gonna make us to go to hell or anything else. So after all, you have you have like can picturize about the thing that you're gonna do in your life next. As example, you're gonna doing good things more and anything else, and it is really gonna be beneficial in the society, because after all, you will surrounded by the people who also doing the good thing, because after all, when you're doing the good things to other people, the other people are more likely to also doing this for you, and after all, you can actually improve this kind of social thing that happen in the society, and after all, you will get really get benefit of it. And then we believe that in the monotheistic religion, you must secure your position in the heaven, right? Because after all, in our next life, our destination next is destination next is heaven, right? So after all, when you have this kind of full access of the good and the bad deeds, and there is the measurement about this, you can also you can also make sure that, if I'm doing this kind of good things more, I can secure our things in the heaven, and after all, it is really beneficial for that individual itself in their life, because yeah, you are gonna doing a lot more of the good deeds, and then after all, you can secure your position in the into the heaven, and after all, you're not gonna doing hard things or bad deeds into the other people, right? Now let's see how if you don't have this access. We believe that when you don't have this full access of their own noble record, there is no kind of measurement about about the bad or how much bad or good deeds that you do in your life, right? And after all, because there is no measurement or warning about that, you are tend to join the status quo right now, which is we much more likely to doing some kind of bad deeds, and after all, you will also more likely to continue the kind of bad thing in your life, because after all, even though we believe in our God as example, but like in the status quo, but we still doing the bad deeds, right? So this is actually really bad. So if you don't have this kind of full access, you're gonna continue the status quo right now, and after all, you're more likely going to hell, right? And so this is really bad. And in worst-case scenario, we believe that when people have this full access to their own noble record, they're more likely to be afraid to do something, as example, because after all, they're more likely have less knowledge about, this is something good or bad or anything else. But judges, we believe that this is also something fine, because after all, you will be really curious to do something in your life, and then after all, if you really know that, this is a bad thing after all, and you're not doing it, it also can secure your position as an individual in heaven, as example, and then you also can be fine with your society and anything else, and it will secure you as a social human being, right? So after all, we once again, as the opening government, thinks that we prefer a world where human beings have full access to their own noble record, because after all, we want to reduce the bad deeds that really can secure our position in the society, and then can secure your life to be in heaven as individual. Thank you.
Right, I thank the Prime Minister for that wonderful remarks. To open the case of opening opposition, I would like to invite the Leader of Opposition.
disclaimer, I would say any sensitive content by saying a lot of any religions in Indonesia. So it just for the debating purpose, not only to offend any kinds of religion. In OO, we exactly simple. We don't have to know our what happened if already didn't what already recorded in our life, or how much good and bad deeds if already done. Because the only the way we has as human is actually what to do, what we want to have do in this very particular world. Even we are already integrated with one of the religion, monotheistic religion, but we have this different interests, different purpose to do our life as a human being. We don't because actually our religion do not regulate or do not force all of the followers to go to the heaven, because they have to have the because they just guess our religion just educate these people how if you go this you go to the heaven, if you did this you go to the this kind of this fire example. So exactly the way. So exactly the way you OG tell us, oh, these people have to go into heaven because they have to enjoy the heaven's facilitation, for example, will not gonna be happen because there are lots of actors, even they have integrated with one of the religion, they just don't care about whether or not they're going to the heaven or not, because they actually just want to comfort. We just want to be comfort in the world. Just we to feel enough with this kind of facilitation that already got by in the world and the sentiment. So let's talk about how a G actually will measure with this kind of this full access will measure the standardizations of this going to heaven or not. Like I said before, religion. The school is already enough to religion already educate the follower through their holy book, for example, on how the expert like Ustad in Islam, and for example, it is actually enough to make sure that to educate this kind of this follower to be how they know that they actually go this kind of this activities they have done will lead them to the heaven or not. Go to the on how actually the human interest to be live in the world itself. They have the decision. They have right to do what they want to do. They don't have to go to the heaven because if some actors feel that they have enough time, they have already fully really that realize that the word they have cited them is free enough. They don't have to go to heaven, for example. And they talk about on how, because we already know that the actors they want to protect is different. Let's talk about on how we're going to in OO. First, because we will give this full of access, it means that we're going to make a toxic competition. Why is this likely to happen? Toxic competition is simply like some of them will because of this full access. Some of them will release their good or their bad deeds because they're prone to have the higher good deals, for example, or even because they have higher good deeds compared to then bad deeds, for example, they will release it, for example, in their social media or etc. Why it is likelihood to be true? First, basically, human will incentive themselves to keep their own self in environment when they are comfort and sweet into. Because of that, to make sure the accessibility to get your interest as a human being in our world, it can be achievable in the world. Because we already taught to you that there's a lot of some of people who have different interests. Oh, this kind of people is religious, they want to go to the heaven. Was compared to on one of the actors, they have integrated with kind of this religion. They have known that the religion want to bring them to heaven, but they don't care because they actually want to make sure that they can get any benefit if they can go. If they can integrate with this, we can integrate with this religion, for example. On how if they can integrate with Islam, they can go to the Mecca, for example. So because a different type of actors they want to be protected. Second, what happened if the competition already exists? one of the people who already have the good deeds, they think that they have to separate themselves from the people who have the bad deeds. It is a jealous environment. Because why? First, to make sure the environment will influence them goodly. Because A, if they only integrate with their higher good deeds group, they tend to do more good deeds. For example, like what Hojit have taught before. So, of the reducement of this bad deeds they have taught by OG will not gonna be do, because actually those things only happen to the people who have separate themselves in the group in the society. Be afraid of because they afraid the opponents of group. For example, in this case, the bad deeds group, they have afraid that from this group will influence their way to keep their good deeds contribution, for example, because they think that if they're still integrating with this kind of people who have the bad deeds higher than their good deeds, this kind of people will try to make them, to hamper them, to try to make hamper them to make this kind of the good deeds people who have higher to be more productive, to gain more good deeds, because because the competitiveness exists, because this kind of people don't want, because basically human will so competitive in the end of the day, because they don't want to see people this kind of people will go to the heaven, for example. We can see on how in the classes on our school, because if we still the competitiveness exists, because we don't want to see, if for example we had this kind of these people, we don't want these people go to the rank to get the first rank in our class, for example, because the competitiveness is toxic, already exists in the basic human being itself, ladies and gentlemen. So by giving this kind of full access, it means that we're still gonna be more hamper, more toxic competitiveness exists in our side of the house. So, and so because of this, it is actually will be worse empathy in their side of the house, because you need because already know that you need higher way of your good deeds to your good deeds rather than bad deeds to go to the heaven. It is actually will result on how if you already known good deeds is higher, you will not advance your character and rebuild you better, because you will think that you will already go to the heaven because of this you have done. Because of that, you will lose your responsibility of empathy to other people. Because why? Because if you didn't know that one of these kind of people already have higher good deeds rather than you, you're gonna feel competitive of them. You will try to hate them. You will try to make influence because of good deeds people. Oh, we have to influence these people but what we have had in the free space, because we don't want they to go to the heaven, for example, because it will hamper them. It is make more people want to do because of people of that. And also when the people already know the bad deeds in higher than bad deeds, good deeds, it will be demotivate themselves, because they actually don't want to be they cannot compete with people who have a good deeds in the very first place. Prone to oppose.
Right, I thank the Leader of Opposition for that fine speech. Now to continue the case of opening government, I'd like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister.
Check. Okay. First of all, I would like to give some trigger warning that maybe my words can be such disgraceful. And I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Vox Populi, Vox Dei. Voice of people can be considered as the voice of God itself. As a rebuttal, firstly, as a rebuttal from the opening opposition that already said that religion is already tried to educate its follower by every other aspect of life itself. Yes, it's true, but we think that as a government itself, we would like to agree and disagree that which is better, is it to be born good or to overcome your evil nature itself? It's once stated by the philosopher called Patronax from the eastern south of Russia. He also said that the purpose of human in this world is still unknown, but As in consideration, how many religions have the afterlife concept, there is exists, right? Judges, as the governments, my government for speakers said that we firmly understand the people have a right to do what he wants, right? But does it not feel about around degenerate if somebody just compare two things that is not unmeasurable yet? Opening opposition also said that knowing our noble records could reach to a desire or even obsession to reach the afterlife itself. We think it's not a bad thing to follow the desire or to even have the obsession of afterlife. Why not? If it's good, why not, right? And I will explain later in my argument. Continue to my argument itself. As my first speaker already said before, that we will come to an idea where philosophy is a very complex subject that not many person could understand. Once there was a philosopher called Franz Kafka. Franz Kafka once was one philosopher who came the concept called Kafkaesque. He stated that human actually trapped in such a complex or bureaucratic or even a system that created by the God itself, that even if we try to run from it, we just trapped in another similar system. And so what is this system about? Before he was deceased, he once wrote a script called As the Castle, as he once explained that how cruel it is for a God to forbid us to see or measure our own records in our life. So we didn't yet to know, is it going to heaven or hell itself? Judges, because of my first argument, we would like to come to our likelihood in this motion itself. In this motion, is more likely a subjective because mostly there is no factual or in life how we can measure with what is good or bad deed itself, right? But let's take a sneak peek what can lead us into if we could have a little understand how the system works. Let's portray someone came as plain as possible. If he or she know that or track this or his own records and know that afterlife judgment is exists, what do you think he will do? Of course he will chase the heaven, right? And thus this can remind us how we can improve in our life to be as a better person to each other or even to ourselves. And the next one, we came to a conclusion about what there is some several impact that could happen if we didn't yet to know our noble records yet. Yes, the concept of measurement or of good or bad deeds or even sin can be never can be measured by us. Yes, we also could relate that in the monotheistic religion, the concept of forgiveness is exists. But what if people do bad in the sin itself just because God can forgive him? Don't you think it's such a disgrace to our Creator if we did not do a good thing just because God will forgive us? Even if we talk that without knowing the system will exist that can lead us to a polarization of humans because people can do whatever they want, right? But let's remember that this or our life is a ticking bomb or bomb that can be described as our death itself. We raised with our grim reaper and without knowing are we good enough to get the heaven firmly? No, thank you. We believe that this could lead us into a panic or worry in every individual, not in a short term but also in the future time. As we also believe that even if we didn't have access or believe in our noble record, is it exist or not, people are still going to questioning about it forever and ever. Once there was also philosopher keep seeking this and asking this until his own death, called as Osamu Dazai, as in Japanese postmodern philosophy. Dazai said that the worst sins of someone can do is doing nothing in his life. Judges, what Dazai try to persuade is, or to try to explain to us is to follow his own path, seeking our own records. He believed that if people don't know our record itself, but still will do the good or great deeds, but the good thing, right? This is linear to our motion where people have more benefit, especially if we would know his own records, because he will chase the benefit of afterlife itself. Because in our concept, we believe that human is only more likely to be fana or just several times in this life, not is in afterlife, which will people could live is forever and ever. And because of that, we came to a conclusion where we, as a followers, believe in his judgment of God's judgment itself. But we also afraid that we are never enough to enter his own paradise. Judges, as a government team, we want to persuade you, trusting us, to have a full access to our own noble records. Because why? Because there is a Latin proverb said that the gunst junder is punishment of God because of our neglection, of our records belief itself. I think that's enough. We would like to propose.
Right, I thank the Deputy Prime Minister for that fine remarks. Now to continue the case of opening opposition, I'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Check audible like this. All right. Imagine the scenario when you want to be a great individual, for example, in all of access of emotional belief, or that is to become and improve to great individual, for example, means that in our side of the house, you have to make a big mistake first. You have to make a feeling that the regret of being mistake first. Means that in our side of the house, you will be able to create to passive, like on how to be a better person, to go to heaven and etc. For example, or on how you can evaluate, be more kind to other and anything, to be more rational in all of decisions you will be making in the side of the house. That's why in our side of the house, we will be access of assuming that all of people now in the world is a sinner. Means that all of people is actually have to they full of bad mistake and anything. Means that there is no superior thing with all of the track record of kind of thing. Means that we will be much more passive on how the evaluate will be accessed in our side of the house. Let's engage on OG first. They're talking about two things to debate. First, by knowing this kind of track record, for example, you will be people will be likely doing something good because they will be minimize all of the bad thing. The question is simple: is it true, right? Because why? First, society is self-centered, ladies and gentlemen. Means that will be having a feeling of superior because of their track records. I have 100 of good things in my track record, for example. Meanwhile, my friends is only 2, right? Meaning there is feel like I just don't have the tendency to being kind to others because there is no people already have active at the same score as me, right? Meaning all of the evaluation and the good things will be hard to access in their side of the house. But second point, there should be likely on how discrimination to be accessed because on how like the likelihood in their side of the house is only access to privileged people, for example, that people have much time to do all of the good things. For example, you have much time to do salat and etc. For example, you have to do good things, for example, to go haji and anything, for example. All of this kind of thing, there is only exist in their side of the house. Meanwhile, in our side of the house, by all of the assuming that we are sinner, for example, means that we are average, right? Means that if you go good, if you do bad things, that's okay. If you do good things, and also you can still have a possibility to go heaven, because by this all of assumptions means that you can like on how you can be more evaluating and you'll be more and you will be more you'll be more better to evaluate. But why are all of this kind of discrimination will be much bigger in the side of the house? Because why? First, there will be people that I mentioned you, the underprivileged, have a bad score of good things, for example. This will be creating two things. First, they are under pressure, ladies and gentlemen. Means that they have desire to go to heaven, for example. There is no access of way, right? The only way to you to go to heaven, for example, is only by doing good things and etc. Meaning, they will be follow all of the rule by people that have a good grade of good things, for example. There's like, if you want to be the same score with me, for example, you have to follow my rules. Like this access in the status quo, like on how, I'm sorry, that Imam Mansur mansur and etc. For example, that glorifying. If you want to go to heaven, for example, you have to sedekah with millions of money. For example, you have to be the same level with me, right? Meaning all of this kind of the house by this kind of people, they're underprivileged. We have no time. We have struggling in our work. For example, we have no money and etc. We just only go to work and anything. For example, meaning all of this kind of manipulating and etc. will be hard to achieve in the house, and there is no will be beneficial. But second, they're talking about on how you can improve when you see other people track record. 3 reasons on this. First, there will be no hard to accept in the house. Because why? Because why? First, people have no tendency to make a mistake in their house because we are afraid of our score become below and etc. For example, we are afraid if we made a big mistake, for example, we go to the hell directly, right? Because by assuming all of this, the people have no tendency to evaluate and etc. They just only, if I do bad things, for example, it's better for me to just stand up like this instead of I just move to other things. Instead, I just try to other things that is only potential me getting bad score and etc. Meaning will be no improving in the house. My previous speaker explained to you on how the improving will be much better in our house, like on how you have to be like you have to judge or glorify someone being bad and etc. For example, by assuming that you will be good in your side of the house, you will be have tendency that feeling bad in your side. Meaning there will be evaluation on how to improve. That you have to be kind to other next time. That's why you will be able to go to heaven, right? Meaning on the side of the house, there is only tendency that if you good there is only things that will be go to heaven by doing good things and etc. I'm just going to talking about one thing in this debate. It's on how by this in our status quo that have no tendency to have no fully knowing on our threat score will be creating beneficial in our side of the house, and there will be existing exploitation in the side of the house as opening government. I'm going to talking about one what happened in their status quo? Meaning, in their side of the house, there is no senior people in their side of the house. Meaning, there is no bad things. There is no there is no bad things. There is no evil people to actually make sure to make you more better in the future, right? There will be creating to 4 points in the side of the house. First, on how by make a mistake, for example, you can creating empathy and anything. My previous speaker already said to you, in our side of the house, there will be access of FL people, for example, to make sure and comparing you on how the good things, for example, will be much better in our side of the house. For example, on how slavery exists in the past, there's a kind of bad people actually torture you to become much better, right? In our side of the house, people will access to evaluate because there's already bad, there's have to stop in our side of the house. Meaning, in their side of the house, all of the bad things will be stopped directly. There will be no access of scenario, my friends already judging me, my friends already underestimating by all of my speech, for example. In their side of the house will be no access of evaluation and etc. Because there is already superior things that I have a good score and etc. I have no tendency to accept all of the good things and anything. But lastly, on how there will be creating more exploiting in their side of the house. Why? Because in their side of the house is only access on privileged people, for example, because they have tendency to I can go to church anything because I have no working in the Sunday, for example, or I can go to Salat 5 times a day because I can I have much money and I don't have to do work anything, for example. In their side of the house, there is a lot of people that only push there is only people that getting there is vulnerable people that's only getting exploiting because there is trust that we have no tendency to going to heaven and extra, for example, because we cannot being kind to other. That's why we as opposition proud to oppose. Thank you.
Right, I thank the Deputy Leader of Opposition for that wonderful remarks. Now to open the case of the closing half of the debate, I would like to invite the Member of Government here.
Am I clear enough? Okay.
respond to the OO cases first. They talk about how this accessibility would lead to toxic competition. First thing first, competition itself, it still exists with or without the accessibility, judges. Because, why? Because in this world we're living in, we know this bad and good stuff, and we know all people over the world, they still compete on whether they can do bad or they can do good, and etc. So it still exists with or without accessibility. But the question is it fair enough to we compete without the accessibility? Because it would be more toxic in their side, because when they compete without knowing the records, it is not fair, because some people have privilege to do good, just like what the previous speaker said. Some people have privilege to do good or to know what is good, because maybe they are religious enough to read the holy book or to read the Quran. To my next response, they talk about just read the holy book, just go to the ustad, it is enough. I said no, because not all people are religious. Some people they don't care about what religious or what good or what bad. But I'll explain why this accessibility would make them care of this thing. Because if it's accessible, they're aware of their sins, and seeing the number of sins is not good, because they would know like, oh, I'm very sin. I have so many sins, so they would most likely to stop doing the sins, because seeing the number of the sins is really big, and they would like search or they would seek for the ustad that you talk. They would most likely to do that and make sure that they can reduce their sins. Next, they talk about the evaluation not exist because all people are self-centered and we don't know others' accessibility. Well, it is still exists, the evaluation, where in our own self, we evaluate our own bad and good things. I'll explain later. Next, they talk about how this accessibility would lead to exploitation and because of underprivileged person, etc. First thing first, the records come from God. So manipulating, etc. I don't understand how can this happen, because again, they talk about the self-centered, because yeah, all people would be self-centered by this accessibility, so they would care on their records. So the manipulating, the imam, all things they talk about, I don't think that will really happen, and they don't explain what's the likelihood of this imam to manipulate, because all people have their own records. So other people, opinion they don't care of that. And second, they talk about the underprivileged and how people can salat because they don't have time to work and etc. Well, goods can only as firm as you take paku on road so that people's feet not bleeding and etc. So many things you can do good as simple as that, because and God is the one that gives the record. So God knows whether you are capable to doing this or you are not capable to doing this. People, God have the consideration. So I think that judge don't buy their argument on that. Moving to my contribution. First, OG actually explained how the measurement would make people reduce the good, but they don't actually explain what is the likelihood, because it still happens in our world without accessibility. People still have the need to reduce, still have the desire to do good. But I explain to you. First, in our world, we live in a world where so many judgments, so many bad and good. We live with it in our world today. So, with this accessibility, when they know their records, first my argument, they want the good things to be more, and they're more likely to do good. Why? People have desire to good because of the social constructive in that kind of country, which shows what is good and what is bad since their birth. They actually live in, good is good, doing good is really good, and doing bad is, bad. When they know, they want to be satisfied, as they know that I am the good person in the world. I am the good person, and they're most likely to do good because they want, whatever they can do good, just like take paku from the word, they do anything to be good, because the satisfaction is what assure they would do good, because they need the validation. For example, I need the score on my test to validate my, my idea of I am the smartest student. They need the validation. Moving to my next argument, our world would have the absolute definition of what is good or what is bad, because our world, and we're living right now, the world full of judgment, and in the present world, there are many confusing definitions of what is haram or halal, what is pahala and dosa. So many debates, so many conflict on people, this imam and this imam, and it's most likely to be manipulating in their side, just like want to oppose. And in our world, when this accessibility exists, every single thing we do has the record as a bad or good thing. We know what is considered as bad or good in God's opinion, and it's absolute because it's come from God. We know, and it would lead to no more debate of what is good, what is bad, what is haram, what is halal. No more confusion, no more people fighting each other because they think they are right. More peaceful would come to the world, and because there is only one definition of and it's from the God. So yeah, it's absolute. Third, when they have the accessibility, they would have the awareness of what they do wrong. Judges, sometimes we do wrong, but we don't aware that it is wrong. Maybe we don't know that. Maybe we hurt each other's feeling, and we don't aware of it. When this accessibility exists, we would know whether it is hurt other feelings or not. And in our side, they would more likely to not doing it again because they know that this is actually a bad thing. I shouldn't do it again, and it comes to more peaceful. So the keywords is peaceful. What we want in our side of the house is a world with more peaceful. So government may say that people will not be genuine being good because they would see it as a competition and etc. Well, I think this is not true because in your side it still exists. The not genuinity, it still exists because people simply doing good because they know if doing bad go to hell. Also not genuine, right? Because it still exists in this world. People, in our side, they have the measurement and the validation to do more good. So even if they genuine or they're not genuine, and if only want the heaven, they still do good. So the way is very simple. We prove how the accessibility leads to more peace with more people doing good, not fighting for feeling right, awareness of feeling every single thing they do, and what they defend is actually not peaceful in the world because of toxic competition, etc. So proud to propose. Thank you.
All right, I thank the member of government for that wonderful speech. Now to open the case of closing opposition, I'd like to invite the member of opposition.
Test. Am I audible? I'm going to.
Can you speak closer to the mic? Yeah.
I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The noble record seems to act as a clear indicator of a human's life that provides clarifications and certainty in the human life. What they do is wrong, or is it good in their deeds. So but this certainty in itself is principally not aligned with the experience of the human life or the human nature itself in its grand scale of the human life itself. Framing. First, let me provide the narrative of the human life. The human life revolves around experiencing the action and reaction on the basis of uncertainty, speculations, and the drive of the human spirit to keep going on in their life. By giving access to the record, it inherently removes the principle in life by not only telling them they are right or wrong in this very sophisticated world with countless contexts when things can easily change whether they are good or not by just by a few more factors. But it also removes the speculation part because you immediately tell this person on what is they wrong or not. You entirely give them no room for interpretation or speculation because you immediately tell them they are right or wrong and whether they will be judged in sent to hell or heaven. Judge, the opening bench only mentioned religious people. But let me remind the narrative of this motion again. All human beings can use their record. Specifically in this word, all human beings, not just religious people or the monotheistic believers. I want to clarify the fact that believers aren't the most vulnerable actor in this case or the only actor. Because as a believer, like the opening opposition stated that they already have a strong standard or principle to protect themselves against not having a record. So I don't see why this record case is so urgent. It is in fact that the people in the gray area, which is the most affected people by this record, because there is no, because it is their life, only their life, that is the most uncertain and have so much factor that precisely because of this, the record can affect them. But and because in their life there is no clear good or bad or whether they can be both. Well, believers already know their deeds because they already have God belief ideals, principles that what they do is good or not, like harams, is it a sin or is that? And such we believe that the actor in this case should be the people in the gray area. Moving on to my issues. First, the lack of human experience in a world with noble records. First, rebutting the closing government. Closing government says that the records acts as a clarification of a person whether they are good or not in their deeds, and it is absolute, objective, and full of judgment. And it is precisely because it is like this that it is harmful in the first place. It immediately places a person and whether they are good or bad, and this inherently generalized life and how important is self-reflection in the grand nature of life. Because when you are a person in the gray area, when you do it, there is countless factor or complexity to see whether you are good or bad. And not only is this just a good or bad case where a person did is only good or bad, but due to the grand scale of life and its complexity, maybe due to some circumstances, you can have both. Your deed can be simultaneously good and bad. And this record doesn't say exactly whether they can achieve this or not. Your burden as the government side is to answer how will your record tackle the complexity of the human life and the nature itself. Because both the government side only state there is clear good or bad, no in between or both. Because, for example, if someone that is poor is trying to steal to provide sustenance or to live longer for their maybe relative or children, maybe they are poor or cannot afford. When they do this, maybe their stealing itself is bad. But what they do, their drive to do this is good. It's inherently good because they want to protect their most loved one. And with this, I say that the record is harmful. And second point, on our side, we provide exclusivity because only by this uncertainty and strong emotions, because from the strong emotions from the whole uncertainty of life and self-dependency on the human life, it creates a strong drive. And what is this drive? Regrets, the human emotions, anxiety, while the complexity of the human life all boils down to create the main tipping point of this debate. The whole human life is about their limited lifespan and what they can do the most with this. Because in this lifespan, this is only exclusive on our side. Because on our side, we present this uncertainty or subjectiveness is what comprises the human, the iteration process of self-betterment of the human life. Because they know that in fact, they only have so much time to fulfill their regrets and what they can do or good deeds they do. Because if they, for example, doubt themselves whether they have done a bad thing or not and know they are bad thing, then they will try or with their whole human emotion to fix this regret. Moving on to my second point. Why is the human experience of life so important? Well, let me elaborate the narrative of the human life. Philosophically, the human life in essence is how a human is affected by the world and how they as a human who is sentient and complex respond it with their belief or ideals. And let me characterize the process. First, they they receive information such as what is done to them. Second, they process this with the emotion, and with this emotion they get a reaction, and with this reaction they have a logical system such as belief or ideas to process this, and moving and going to the, and after this they will have the final result of action. Comparatively, when you provide a record, you remove one key aspect of this process, this logic, because with the record you inherently remove what makes a person believe ideals. You make them irrelevant by saying they are objectively wrong or right in this case. This is harmful because you especially remove what makes a person's morality standard or belief or ideals in their life. It makes a world where no room for interpretation or subjectivity, because that revolves around the context that in life that this give people on is only good or bad. How they feel the life itself. And why in this subjectivity? The opening side says that that maybe they need the objectivity to give the meaning. Well, without this, with subjectivity, they in fact can get more meaning, because they question what is so good about the life, what's so good about the good thing, what is so bad about the bad thing, and what is about nothing. And with this, they find solace in their life, because with their nothingness, they can give meaning to anything and questions what is actually so good and what is so bad and what is important in their life. With this, I'm proud to oppose.
And I thank the member of opposition for that fine speech. Now, to close the case of closing government, I would like to invite the government whip.
Responding to what OOs and COs said about life would be generalized, because people will always be good and there is not going to be a bad thing. Knowing our deeds wouldn't promise that good is the only thing that will exist in our side of the house. Bad things can still happen too. Even if knowing that people knowing that they know what their good deeds or bad deeds are, like even if people still do bad things, we will explain why knowing this will be better in our side of the house. And in regarding of what opening opposition said, that improve will not happen in our side of the house, we're going to explain improve still and will exist in our side of the house, and even better. Now my first extended argument is knowing their bad deeds, leading to human can behave better to others, because of course they can reflect to their actions. Some people doesn't care about others or nor aware about their actions, what their actions can do to others. Why awareness is matter? We live in a society that involves lots of individuals. Of course, we want to live in a good environment. They, of course, wouldn't want to bother each other by being a bad person, for example, stealing, being rude, or etc. Now, secondly, humans dreaming of an ideal world like utopia, where there's no harm to others, or everyone will be happy and there's no war. Now, full access to their deeds can help humans to achieve their goal, like utopia. We want peace, stability. What we don't want is war, bad things happen to human. We're okay with people not being genuine of what they're doing. And I'm going to explain why this is going to be better. Now, what is the benefit for everyone includes people with certain religions. So some people are confused with what they can do or what they cannot do, as my partner explained. Now, there's an uncertainty in this world. If we know our bads and goods, we can know why then things is bad or not being allowed. People will do everything with more awareness in their actions, especially people that believe in certain religion. If they believe in existence of like heaven, they can be sure if their actions can get them into heaven or even hell. Comparatively, in their side of the house, there is no certainty if they can go to heaven or not. Humans have goals, right? Even if they said that people would do everything because being forced, but at least they would do everything to better themselves because wanting to go to heaven, or when they don't believe in religion or heaven, they don't have this in their side of the house. And even more further explanation, there's a lot of people suffer in this world. People that are affected by war, or simply people that are being abused by others. How can these good deeds help them, or knowing their deeds can help them? Now, they will know that their action is bad because there's a certainty. If they want to achieve heaven, and there is no other choice than not to do harm. For e.g., there's people in, of course, Russia or Israel. Of course, there's a people who believe in God. If they believe in God and heaven and knowing their deeds, of course, in order to achieve that, they would do whatever they wouldn't do what they already do to Palestine or Ukraine. So people in Palestine or even Ukraine wouldn't be faced with the kind of situation that they're experiencing right now. Even though when they knowing their deeds and they're still doing that, of course, because people that wanting to go to heaven, their goals to heaven, of course, they're going to collect these good deeds, and they are still going to help these vulnerable people or people that are suffer from war, like Indonesia helping Palestine and etc. That's it for me. Thank you and this is simply can tackle what OO brings, that there is no improvement in our side of the house. That's it for me. Thank you very much. So proud to propose this.
All right, I thank the government whip for the wonderful remarks. Now to close the case of closing opposition as well as the entire debate, I would like to invite the opposition whip.
Check. Before I start my speech, trigger warning if anything is sensitive, and I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Judges, let me assure you that actually the stance in CO is actually why, I was going to tell you why the full access to noble records will create to certainty, and why the certainty is not in line with the human nature because it will cause harm to humans. So it's human nature to it's human nature and human institutions is to prepare themselves for the worst case scenario, right? If they're uncertain, it means that they will feel like they are not good enough and they will not be ever enough. Because humans are mostly they are not grateful and they will never never feel enough and they will keep on doing good in our side of the house so that they can have good things. So if you want to achieve, if you want to champion if like good people will have more, then it will be championed more to under our side of the house. So let me clarify to you. Actually, after listening to all of the speakers on the side of the houses, we can conclude that actually OG only explains that it's actually good because it will decrease bad people. But then, so what? And then what, right? As our status quo also has religion for this if you want to decrease the bad people, right? So what? There's no further explanation and OG has no exclusivity. Also, what about OO then? OO do not understand and the emotion and then fight it to OG. And although we support, like we are on the same bench, population bench, but then CO completely disagrees to OO. And I'm going to explain you why. That is why let's exclude OO from this debate. So CG only one piece, they do not want war, but then why is it only exclusive under the side of the house? And I'm going to explain to you why actually our side of the house is actually more exclusive. Let's go first to OO then. Why we should exclude OO from this debate. OO talk about like how assuming that everyone will be a sinner in their side of the house, right? We say no, we never talk about because there is no exclusivity in this because OG has said to the debate that actually in this debate, we're not talking about that everyone is a sinner, so we don't understand why they have this quiet, right? Also, I'll talk about like how people will have like good deeds, people have good deeds will separate themselves from people who have bad deeds because they need to do more good deeds. We say no, why? Because good people will always approach the bad one to try to comfort them, to try to tell them, actually, let's be good, and then try to get them to as a good people. So if they themselves separate themselves from the good people, then and from the bad people, then it means that they're not the good people to begin with. So you are wrong characterizing of this good people and bad people themselves. Also, this is the one thing that OO talk about that we completely disagree about. OO talk about like how they want to protect actors that are underprivileged, which is people who keep on doing the bad things because they cannot do good things. And they define doing good things by like do salat, like go pray to God or whatsoever, because they believe that actually by praying to God you will like be deemed as good people. But then we say no. Doing good things doesn't equals to always like pray to God. Yes, you pray to God. Of course, you are good people. But then, that's that the only metrics for you to get to characterize that good people will only pray to God? How can we judge good people then? In society, how they act to people, how can they act daily? That is the metrics how we can say that it's good or bad. Not just only basically on salat. We agree with salat, but then not only basically on that. I also talk about like how actually. How can actually being bad is underprivileged? We do not understand why being bad is underprivileged, because being underprivileged is a choice. So it means that you have no choice, right? You have no choice, that's why you're being underprivileged. But then being good or bad is not actually you have no choice. You have the choice to actually do good or bad things. That is why we say we don't understand why you can say it's like underprivileged, because it's not underprivileged, right? So you cannot just do bad things and then when you are being treated back as a return, you said that you are being underprivileged. That is not fair, right? Also, you talk about people who already do good will not do better because they already good. We say no, because human will not feel enough. They will not feel satisfied and they will compete themselves to be the best. And just like the hierarchy of needs of Maslow, because talk about like how if you have achieved our primary needs, then you can achieve like self-actualization, which you want to be the best, which you, if you know that you have this matrix, it's best because you want to be the best. Because there's a matrix, like there's like you want to be the best, like the best people, the good, the best, the more good people, right? Let's move on to OG then. What about OG? So OG talk about like how like it's beneficial for society, it will reduce bad deeds, but then OG never explain why is our status quo is not enough. Even if it is true that the collateral damage will be worse because there will be actors, because they fail to analyze like other actors who will be harmed by this. And then they never explain why status quo is never enough, because status quo we already have religion who will reduce bad people. How can this matrix be the only way? You never explain. You also talk about like secure your position in heaven. We say that secure your position in heaven, this one will create more fanatic people because they know best. Like in status quo, there are many people coming out there. Oh, I have been to heaven. That's why you need to follow me. There are many misleading people that will happen inside your side of the house because there is this matrix to begin with, right? And then your OG point is basically about the measurement, but then it's only too light of a surface and too simple of analysis. Also, OG also talk about like we need to have full access because people did bad thing because God will people did bad thing because God will eventually forgive us. And then you said that it's not a good thing, right? We say it's not as simple as that. It's not as bad as what you said, because we have moral judgment in society. We have moral standard, we have society check and balance, we have criminal justice system, and then they cannot just do bad things because they feel like God will just simply forgive them. That's very too light of analysis, and because we have standards of norm in society. If you do not agree with this, please just simply you can feel free to POI me. And also, let's move on to government then. Government's closing government especially. How government talk about like they want good things to be more, and then they need this like to validate. They need validation. Why is validation important in CG? Because you never understand. Because like if there is no explanation, because why is validation important? Because validation equals to you need this ego boost, and you do good because you want this validation, not because you simply want to do good. You want to go to heaven because there's a metric or measurement. Because in our side of the house, we don't have this. We don't have this certainty, so that you just simply do good because I want to do good. And also you talk about like how in opposition side of the house you talk that they do not do bad because they want to because they do not want to go to hell, which is definitely you just prove our point, right? Because just like what we say, how can your word is doing because your word is doing things because simply they have this metric, not because they actually want to do it. And now if there's uncertainty in this world, then it will be better. Also, in government world, what will happen is very harmful because certainty is very harmful because you can predict your life and what is going on what will happen next. For example, you did bad things, so you expect bad things to come to you. But then if you did good things, no matter what your religion is, you expected good things to come also, right? But then when bad things come, eventually not good things, you will be disappointed, you will be insecure. After you're insecure, you will hate yourself, you will wonder God, you will question God, and you will not believe in your religion anymore. That's very harmful. Certainty will cause us boredom, monotonous, and also it will you will like try to compete to be the best in heaven. That is why certainty is actually very harmful to begin with, and CO is more exclusive than the other 3 houses, and that's why we are proud to oppose. Thank you.
Right, I thank the opposition whip for that fine speech. That concludes this round. Congratulations for all teams. You may go back to the debaters hall to wait for the announcement. Thank you.